Okay, we're streaming and recording.
Okay,
Fred,
thanks.
I'll make you full host. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just want to wait for Ren to come. I just got off the phone with them.
Good.
So I'm sure he'll be here any minute. Can everybody hear me? Can you, Tess and Ron, can you say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, good.
I hear you.
Perfect.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
I
Thank
can
you.
hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Is that Jonathan?
Yes, I'm going to keep myself muted because I'm in a cafe and it makes noise. Okay.
All right, I got it. I got it. All right. Let me just see Ren here for a minute. Hey, Ren. So we're here. I don't see you on the attendees yet. Oh, fine. I will wait for you.
Why don't you go ahead and start the meeting and I'll
Okay. All right.
start the meeting.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye. He's on his way having technical difficulties. So I guess I'll just open the meeting. We have a quorum. So why don't I go ahead and open the meeting? It is 6:03 p.m. Welcome, everybody. And with that, let's take some roll call. First one, we'll go with me. Fred Iberry's here. And how about Tess Taylor?
Very much here.
Tess is here. Okay, Mark. Mark is here. You're going to unmute him because I think he's driving. So, okay, let's see. Hold on. There. I guess he needs to unmute himself. Sadly, I can't unmute you, Mark.
Hey,
Oh, okay.
hey, yeah, I'm muted, but it's really tough while I'm driving. I'm here. Anything else you need to ask me?
No, we're good till the minutes. Okay, we're here.
Good.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. Let's see.
Jonathan here.
Ron's here. Okay, good. Ron is here. Ron.
I'm here.
Okay. Now we're missing Bob and Lee. I don't see them. I know Ren was on his way. I'll make a note when he shows up. And with that, let's go on to the minutes. I have a motion to approve GTLNC January 9, 2023 Plum Committee minutes. Do I have a first?
Tess.
Tess, and a second?
Jonathan.
And one more time for the second?
Ron.
Jonathan.
Okay. I'm going to get Ron first. Okay, so Ron is the winner on that one. And let's have discussion for that, please.
I want to comment on how great the minutes are this month.
I think they're award winning.
No, I'm teasing. Fred, can you promote Mark to panelist?
I can't because he's on the phone.
Okay.
So
all right.
I try to, but I can't do it.
We'll have to hope for the best.
I just can't do it. But you're there in spirit, Mark. Okay, so any other discussion for the minutes? I don't see any hands up, so I'm going to pretend that, or not pretend, I'm going to take that as a no. And with that, let's go to a vote. First one, Mark, how do you vote for the minutes? If you can hear us, Mark.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes.
Okay. Yes. And Jonathan.
Yes.
Fred. Yes. Tess.
Yes.
Here comes Ren. Hold on a minute. Here comes Ren. Okay. Hi, Ren. 1 second. We're just in the middle of this vote here.
Anyway, yes, I'm here under Joanne at the moment. I'll fix that.
I'll fix it for you.
Okay.
We're voting on the minutes, Ren. But do you have any discussion for the minutes for January?
No,
How do you vote?
yes,
Yes. Okay. Tess?
Yes.
Yes. Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Just gonna double check once more for Lee and Bob. All right. So they're not here. And the vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. 0, 0. 6, 0, 0. And then next to this, we will be public comment item number 4. If anybody is in the audience, please raise your hand for public comment. If you'd like to say something, please raise your hand. Or you can press *9, I believe it is, on the phone. Pound, not star, pound 9 to talk. Okay, well, I don't see anybody who wants to talk, which is too bad. Hopefully someone would want to talk. I'm sure there'll be plenty of talking later on. So, okay, well then, here we go. Public comment. We're on to number 5, committee member news and announcements. How about this one? All right, Tess, go ahead.
Yeah, I am meeting with a small delegation tomorrow at City Hall with Mayor Karen Bass. So, I'm very interested in comments people have today about her resolution and her executive directive, or her emergency directive and her emergency declaration. Sorry, executive directive and emergency declaration. And I've also received, for what it's worth, inquiry from Mona, who brought forward the washing, the car wash item for the mobile station on Cahuenga and Riverside and Toluca Lake. And there have been some delays with her application, which she needs help with. So I'm discussing that with her and hoping to be able to facilitate what's needed in terms of her application. So I just wanted to update the committee. That's it.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for that. I hope she doesn't have too much trouble. We can help her as much as we can. All right. So then anybody else? Ren, go ahead.
yeah, well, two things going to the car wash and so forth. They put in for a liquor license, a wine and beer license, and that was on our agenda for tonight. Tess, is it your idea that they're not going to present tonight, that they're going to hold that back until they get things settled?
I have no idea about any I wasn't informed of any presentation that they planned to make tonight. So I just understand that there's been a delay in the approval of their application. So, the application that we endorsed at our plum meeting last year, and which our, the neighborhood council also approved. So
Yeah.
the liquor license is a new thing as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, let's wait and see who shows up on it. Well, maybe Bruce, but anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention, just in going, I attended on Thursday night presentation by the NBC Universal, their update on their plans and what's going on up on the Hill. And if anybody is interested, I can give you a long-term briefing on it. But in short, they've got their new sort of office operation, administrative buildings up on the Hill. Those are about to finish up, and there'll be some traffic mitigation things that they'll do around that development as that opens up in the next few months. They're also, of course, doing a lot of work along the front there, the gates they've renumbered the gates from 1 to 5 in a logical order finally, after all these years. And they've, they're setting up to have it be more sort of street friendly in terms of design and having a place for turnarounds and all of that. Anyway, if people are concerned about Universal, I can speak about it in more detail. The one thing that impressed me, they've got a lot of new sound stages that are opened up. They're planning more activities, more office space and so forth. All of that's going to create higher employment at that site, which will increase traffic, of course, and demand for apartments in our neighborhood. So that's kind of the other side of, all of our development that's going on. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting.
Really quick, Ren, I see Bruce has his hand up, but did they say anything about the street trees along Lancashire? I know that before there was some large pine trees that were pulling up the sidewalk, and I'm sure that's why they cut them down. But are they gonna? Did they mention anything about those trees at all? Or
Yeah,
no?
they did. They did, and they are very sensitive to trees. They've done some interesting tree work around their new office building up on the hill. They bought trees and 3 years ago, and they've grown to a point. At one point, they had to put them in bigger boxes. So they've got some mature trees that are going in up there, but they're planning to replace all the trees they took out along the street there and put them into a better space so there'll be enough. They'll get enough water and they'll be nice. I think they really have taken it to heart that they need to present a better view out to the community. It can't just be an island walled off in our neighborhood. I think they really have taken it to into their plans that they want to reach out and be available to us. I think at this point we'll probably, we should probably go back up there and start asking them for some things. We have to decide what our priorities are, and then see if we can get support from NBC Universal to maybe fund some of it.
Well, that's good news. I remember after 9/11, they put up all those K rails and wrought iron fences and just ruined the front of that. So I'm sure all that's going to come down and they'll have a nice new.
Ren, what was the name of the gentleman that GTLNC interfaces with up at Universal?
Well, there's a crew, but I think you're thinking of what's his name? Blanking on it for a second.
Darnell?
Darnell, of course, yeah. And so Darnell is our, sort of our go-to person. He's well familiar with Toluca Lake, and
What's his last name? Darnell
Roberts.
Roberts. I'd love to see the plans you mentioned. If he could forward those to me or whatever it was, I'd like to see that.
Actually,
Okay.
it's Tyler, Darnell Tyler.
Darnell Tyler. Okay. Can you forward that to me, Ren, please?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, Ren, if you're all through all that, Bruce, have the floor.
Yeah. Let me take my hand down.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ren. That's very, very interesting info, as always. And Bruce, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bruce Lachanzi. Thank you so much for inviting me for today's agenda. I had a brief conversation with Ryan last week. By the way, I'm the owner of the brand new station at the corner of Vineland and Moore Park, 7-Eleven, mobile, and car wash. I had the pleasure of meeting your previous members a few years ago when we were applying for a car wash. And obviously, you guys helped us a lot, and that's what we are today. We are getting a lot of calls and requests for our neighbors to provide beer and wine at the 7-Eleven location.
Can I stop you really quick, Bruce? So sure. you are going to speak about the beer and the liquor license request for the mobile station.
Correct.
At the Vineland and More
More.
Mobile, not Riverside and Coingo.
No, that's why
Um,
I raised my hand to clarify that.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. So that's we're very looking forward for you speaking, which is in our next section. If the board's okay and we'd like this to proceed now instead of later, is that fine, Ren, or do we want to go in order?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay, fine.
Is
So
it-
let's just talk about 7.1 now, since we have Bruce on the phone and we don't have to
Thank you,
to
thank you
bore
so
him with the
much for
rest of our
allowing me
meeting.
to talk right now. I have Mrs. Sherry Olson. I don't know if she's online or not. She's my consultant. She's helping me out.
Yes,
with the
I'll allow
process.
her to talk. Okay.
Yes. Sherry, could you please take it from here?
Okay, Sherry, go ahead. You're allowed to talk. And
Maybe-
Sherry just has to unmute herself and then she'll.
Sorry about that.
There we
I
go.
thought I was
Okay.
unmuted, but thank you very much for hearing our item so quickly.
Sure.
We are looking forward to adding beer and wine to our new station, as Bruce was saying, at 4377 Vineland Avenue in North Hollywood. It presently has a car wash that operates from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We market there that's operating 24 hours with gas. And we're asking for like 3 cooler doors. And we do have a 24-hour security patrol, along with no policing issues and over 300 signatures of support from our local neighbors. So we're looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say and seeing what your concerns are. We did reach out to the council office as well, and we also out to the police department. So we haven't had any policing issues. We're proud to say we keep the premises very clean and very orderly, and we've been a good community neighbor out there. So we're hoping to get your support on that location and finding out what to mitigate any concerns if anybody has any for us.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Sherry. And anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand. Okay, Jonathan, go ahead.
Jerry, Bruce, thank you very much for your presentation. If I've understood it, you're an operating business right now with a gas station and a car wash, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
7-Eleven.
What I'd like you to answer for me, and I want you to realize my question that I'm going to ask you is not from me directly, but rather it's what I anticipate stakeholders will be saying. Stakeholders see a lot of intoxication on our streets, meaning there's a situation going on that's out of control. What are your feelings about being another source of liquor in the community? What stand do you take? Because this is what I think is on stakeholders' minds, is they already feel insecure that there are drug addicts and alcoholics walking up and living on the streets. So the question to you is, what measures will you have in place to ensure that people who go in and out of your business feel safe, that there aren't vagrants standing around that threaten them, or even in the immediate area of your business? In other words, what are you doing? What's your plan not to become part of the problem? Thank you.
Well, I can answer part of that, and I'll let Bruce answer some of it
Please,
as
thank
well. So one thing that we do have in place that sets us apart, number one, we have obviously a tremendous amount of security cameras on the exterior and a tremendous amount on the interior. And the PD has availability to go ahead and get into our IP address and able to communicate to people in our store, as well as to see what's going on in the neighborhood and our store as well. So that kind of sets us apart from others. Also, too, we're going to be having lockable cooler doors that can be locked at all times. It can be SIST, and it also can be triggered from the cash register as well. So those will be lockable cooler doors that, you know, when people come in, we can have control over that. There'll be no single cells. So most intoxication happens, or most people that are walking the street are looking for a single cell, a single cam. We will not be offering that to any customers. We're going to be strictly with prepackaged only from the vendors. So That'll help out tremendously, as well as, obviously, we're not going to be selling alcohol 24 hours a day, and we can limit our sales based on what your board has to say about that, and to limit those sales of alcohol as well. But we do have a lot of security. And then also this location has security patrol, and they're there quite a bit. And they're going around our store, around the neighborhood, and back through our store and back around. And they're operating on a 24-hour basis. A lot of other stores do not have that. So that kind of sets this whole location apart from others, 7-Elevens. So I hope that answers a lot. I don't know if, Bruce, if you had anything to add to that.
Yes, I would like to add to what you said. I don't know how many of you been at the location. Location is about 6 months old, and I'm very proud to say it's one of the cleanest and most secure location in the area. We have a system there, which, as Sherry mentioned, that we deter all the homeless people away from the location. We try to help them as much as we can by providing them the food, that we don't want them to loiter around and create a mess and create insecurity for the customers. On top of it, as Sherry mentioned, we have a armed patrol for 24 hours a day. What's interesting is that this location has been their base, and they come over there very frequently to use the facilities. And at any given time, you'll see a security patrol there. Now, this by itself gives a neighborhood and the customers a sense of secure building. We also have security cameras all over the store, and we monitor them frequently. And one thing that I have to say is that because of the encouragements of the neighbors and the apartment buildings around us, asking us frequently to obtain beer and wine, that's why we got encouraged to do so, because this is a very convenient store for the customers, the apartment buildings who live around us. There are over 300-400 units buildings on the south of us and on the west. And these guys are doing all their shopping basically at the 7-Eleven. They walk to the store, they bring their kids to the store, and it's really convenient for them, for us to provide them. We work with them a lot. Some people demand or request particular items like butter. Not too many 7-Elevens carry butter or milk, but we do it all the time because the customer need it, or bread, all kind of bread. Therefore, we are here for the convenience of the neighborhood, and we want to, they are supporting us. That's why we have few hundred signatures supporting the idea of having the beer and wine. I thought this would explain our position.
And I also wanted to add one last thing. Our security, it's conditioned for our 24-hour use and our car wash to have the security from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily.
11 p.m. 7 to 11.
CUP says 10, but 7 to 11 then, but we have it 24 hours. So we went up and beyond that to protect the area, to make sure that we're keeping it clean and we're keeping it safe for the community. And we'll continue that.
Did I just hear you guys say that the car wash is open till 11, but the CUP says 10?
I'm sorry, I might have been mistaken. I have multiple locations. Might have been 10 o'clock. Whatever the CUP is, we follow it.
Now, what I was saying is the security says 7 to 10 for security, but he said
the car wash operation, I think it's until 11. I'm not sure.
No, that's 10 as well.
That's 10. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I take it back.
Yeah. So the car wash and the 24 hour use from the commercial corner. I think what's confusing is the standard commercial corner 7 to 11. So that's the first thing it says on the CUP, 7 to 11. And off of the commercial corner is we're operating, the security is required to be 7 to 10, but we're operating at 24 hours. And that was my point.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Tess, go ahead. You're next in line.
Thank you very much. Is there a reason we don't have the conditional use permit and the paperwork that's being discussed right now? Or
the reason that you do not have that right now is because we're ahead of the ball game. We wanted to get out there and let everybody know what we're doing before we file the official paperwork. We wanted to give a heads up to council, heads up to you guys. I can have that filed, by the weekend, but I didn't want to do that until I made sure everybody was aware of what we're doing and what we're going to do. So nobody was blindsided.
Right. Well, we appreciate that, Sherry. I'm not prepared to vote on this until we actually see the paperwork, especially given some of the confusion about times and stuff like that. But Bruce and Sherry, a couple questions here. How do you prevent loitering? And how many locations within a half-mile radius already sell alcohol? And then last, if we were to approve a condition such as limiting alcohol sales between 7 and 11 p.m., for example, how is that enforced? So those are 3 questions: preventing loitering, how many locations within a half-mile radius already serve alcohol, and how are limited alcohol sales enforced?
Okay. Regarding how many alcohols are sold within half a mile, I would have to get that information and get it back to you and report back to you on that. Because I don't know without having a census tract in front of me and being able to go through a whole radius of you're saying a half a mile from us?
Yeah, I mean, roughly half a mile. I'm not aware of.
A half a mile is pretty far because what usually is from the city is 600 feet to 1,000 feet. And you're a half a mile is like almost 3,000 feet. I don't know. I'd have to see who's around us within 3,000 feet.
Yeah, well, I mean, who's selling alcohol, because that's a contributory factor to approval or denial, at least, from the Planning and Land Use Committee standpoint. And I'm particularly interested in knowing that because we have some hot spots in the neighborhood within less than a half mile of that location, encampments that have been there for literally over a year. So I'd like to know just generally what the alcohol sales is in the area. So, and how do you prevent loitering? How will you do that, Bruce?
Yeah, and just so I can respond a little bit to that, per the ZMS report, there's not showing any conditional use permits. If they're older stores, they might be not coming up on the ZMS, but on the ZMS, there's no CUBs that I'm looking at right now. So, but I will get that number for you within a half mile. I don't know how many are within a half mile, but I will get the count for you. Are you just talking about offsite, or are you talking about on and off? Because there's completely 2 different things. So when I'm getting an account for you, because census tracts run, so I could be in one census tract and down the street 1,000 feet could be another census tract, because they're always, they're not always like cut off. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I'm not precisely following you, Sherry. So, but what I'm after is who's selling alcohol. Whether it's a store or a shop. I'm unaware of any other shops in that area that sell alcohol. I could be wrong, but I'm not.
I don't see any, and my map isn't showing any. But I can't. I don't want to say something.
The Chevron across the street sells beer and wine. And there's a Ralph's down the block that has full alcohol, and there's a Vindom also like within 500 feet, and also another 7-Eleven that sells beer and wine. I know because I used to go to all those shops, not anymore, but I used to.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, open question. Thank you for that, Fred. So how do you prevent loitering, Sherry and Bruce?
Well, right now we have security and we have employees that are prompt to go outside and making sure nobody's standing around. And we have cameras, so we can see anybody that's around our premises at all times by all of our camera systems. So we go out there and we ask them to move. If they continue to be a problem and they don't move, then we'll call local law enforcement. But we try to take measures in our hands and asking them to move. And usually they move right along. I think with the amount of security cameras that we have and the security patrol that we have, it has been preventing a lot of those issues on our site.
I would like to add something is that what Sherry said is completely correct and right, and it's been working for us. And if you can come by and take a look, you'll see that not single homeless or loitering is happening at the location because we keep it very, very clean. I have guys going out every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes.
Yeah. And it's very, very well lit. So that helps out tremendously. So we're taking all measures into account at this location.
And I have been there, and you're right, it is very clean. But I think what Tess is pointing out is that, you know, even across the street at that laundromat where the Pizza Hut is and the donut shop, there's all kinds of homeless hanging out over there. And also underneath the freeway at Vineland and Riverside, there's a huge encampment, as is Moore Park, where the 101 is. And that's all very close to your shop. So I think that's what Tess was concerned about, is just having another outlet for alcohol with these encampments that are a stone's throw from you guys.
Yeah.
I would like to invite all the members when they have a chance on over the weekend or weeknights or anything to come and visit the facility, because I'm personally very particular about having loitering going around, and my guys out there always discouraging people to loiter around. And
So Bruce, I'm very much on the side of small business. So I'm in favor of supporting this. You know, when we have questions answered, that's my orientation. Small businesses, because I know it's tough and very expensive and a brutal economy in which to be operating a business successfully. So my hat is off to you. And I don't want you to mistake my questions for anything other than concern for the community, of course, too, which is our main remit here at the Planning and Land Use Committee of the Neighborhood Council, because it's residential interests that we uphold and support more than anything else. But the final, and by the way, I'm familiar with your location, and it is clean, so I thank you for that. And my last question, to make sure it doesn't get lost in the mix here, if we approve a sales from, let's say, just arbitrarily 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., how exactly is that enforced?
Well, the alcohol doors will be locked, and the POS system on the register, it has a ability to stop all sales. So once it's cut off, that mechanism is in our cash register that automatically stops the sales and won't allow anything to go through. So they won't be able to ring a cell. That's one way. The other way is locking the cooler doors where they can't get in. They can't buy an alcohol because it's all going to be locked up.
Okay.
So usually, because I've operated, actually I've licensed several 7-Elevens, Chevron, AM/PMs, everything. But I can tell you that they cannot reach in. Once the cooler doors are locked, you can't reach over to grab anything. And this store will not have, most of your homeless, like I said, they're seeking for single cells. So if you have older licenses like the Chevron across the street, because they should be showing up under a conditional use permit on my ZMIS, and it's not showing up. So that's telling me they have an old license. But it could also be a whole different census tract. And I'll find out and give you some feedback on that, because I work hand in hand with the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control. And old licenses don't have any restrictions. And they tend to be more problematic because there's no way to control them. They're not having the city come out and check for conditions of compliance or anything like that. So, but everybody has to do their part. Homeless is a big problem in the whole entire city of LA. And they're not even by a retail outlet. Homeless is everywhere there. And
Well,
unfortunately-
we're well aware of that. We're just trying to keep it from getting worse. But a
Right.
technical question for you, Sherry. You mentioned that the conditional use permit does not show up for the Chevron across the street, and that's because it must be older. At what point did this did the system change so that the conditional use permits no longer show up on Zemus?
Okay, wait, really quick
Yeah.
test. Remember that Chevron is going through a remodel. They're building a new store. So I
Okay.
don't know if that has anything to do with this, but that whole thing is in process to redo that location as well. Just throwing that in.
And I'm not that, but she just brings up to me an interesting point of code or a
No,
policy.
the
which
code,
is-
it was 1985 and prior,
Mhm,
the code came out for the city of Los Angeles
mhm.
that anything prior to 1985 would not have a CUB
Okay,
and would not be regulated by the city of Los Angeles. However, if they make any improvement to their site and if they expand over a 20% threshold, it's going to trigger them into a use permit, which they would
Okay.
have to go get a CUP. Now, I don't know of the Chevron, if they're adding over 20%, then it will push them into a CUB.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, they're
Good to
doing
know.
a major overhaul of that property. Okay, Ren, go ahead. You're next. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, two things. One, Mark is on. I don't know if we got him attending, but he's now on. The other thing I just wanted to say, I strongly feel, 10 o'clock is fine. 11 o'clock is stretching it. That last hour, I think, is something that I would push for you to close up at 10 and not sell after that. But when you come back, let us know what you decide. But I think there's some people in the community who would, it's like everything's okay up until like 10 o'clock, and then they don't want to see people, roaring in there at 10:55 and getting a couple of six packs and then going out into the neighborhood. So anyway, I'd 10 rather than 11.
Okay, Ren, thank you very much. Jonathan, you're next.
Terry, thank you. I had two questions. My first question is, if you wouldn't mind to explain, you said something about single sales or something like that. Explain that, whatever that meant. I'm suspecting it means you're not selling big boxes of liquor or something like that. And my second question is, what is your commitment to the minimum number of employees that you'll have at any one time operating the business? The reason I ask that question is, in order for any employee to address any problem, there has to be more than one employee to step away from the cash. So that's why I asked the question. Thanks.
I'll let Bruce answer that one, but I believe there's 2 employees on site at all times or more. And he can agree or tell me if it's different than that. But when I went back to the single cells, your other question regarding the single cells, that means like a can of beer. So you won't be able to go in there and get a can of beer, like a 24 ounce, a 20 ounce, a 16 ounce. It would be prepackaged by the manufacturer. So a prepackaged mean it comes in 3 packs, 6 packs, 12 or 24. Plus we're down to 3 cooler doors, so you're not going to get a lot of alcohol. It's for the convenience of the neighbors. So we're actually regulated, and you're going to have more of your premium, and they won't have any like your still reserved or the junk beer that most people that are homeless or looking for a higher high because it's at a higher content of alcohol level. We won't be selling those junk beers. So it's just no singles. So the singles tend to create a problem in every neighborhood.
So Sherry, really quick, there's no room temperature alcohol like red wine or anything not in the cooler?
We have white wine in the cooler. I don't know. I'll have to ask Bruce if he's going to keep red wine. But we can put that behind the counter if there is some red wine, because I know I'm a red wine drinker, and nothing worse than a cold red glass of wine. Needs to be room temperature, but if that can be conditioned where it can be behind the counter, so it's not on the floor, so nobody can go in and grab a bottle of wine. But it'll be 750 milliliters, the taller one, not the small one, because the wine coolers that you're thinking about would come in a 4-pack anyway. It'd be prepackaged.
So everything would be in the cooler except for bottles of red wine.
Except for bottles of red wine, and we can put them behind the counter so they're not readily on the floor for anybody to grab and walk out.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any more questions?
Fred,
Yes.
Fred,
Mark, go ahead.
and
Go ahead,
so I
Mark.
have about 20 minutes. I have about 20 minutes with you all still. I'm like Tess. I like to support small business, and I think that y'all are doing a nice job. It's very clean out there. I'm with Ren and I'll tell you that I think a 10 o'clock cutoff works well because it ties into your 10 o'clock cutoff with the car wash. So that way
Right.
you have the continuity. And I think that's a smart move that also sends a signal to the community itself that, hey, once 10 o'clock hits, we're stopping all these type of operations. And also the type of clientele that you're talking about that you want to have the opportunity, that type of clientele will have already needed to buy their alcohol much earlier than 10 o'clock. So really 10 o'clock is a grace period. But once you get past 10, then it's almost inviting trouble. So I just think it might be a wise move to keep it as continuity's sake, 10 o'clock across the board. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you guys. Well, thank you very much. We got a big agenda tonight, so we're going to move on with our meeting. But I appreciate you guys presenting to us. And I guess when you have more info, we'll have you back on for a vote.
Right, and we'll file the application as your board member requested, and that way you will be able to see the application and our intent, and knowing that we mean what we say, and you'll see it all in order at that point. And then I will reach out to back to your board member at that date, and I'll give you the list of the alcohol outlets. I'm not 100% where they all are, so I will give you that list.
I'll tell
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, huh?
I know where they are.
Yeah, so you know where they are.
That's right.
I just
Okay.
want to make sure, and then I can give you the dates of, or who has a conditional use permit, who doesn't, and the dates they were went into service.
Terrific. Okay, you guys. Thanks again, Sherry and Bruce. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you both very soon.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was very nice. And welcome, Bob, to the meeting. Hello, Bob. We started at 6 o'clock today, which you probably know already. And
I probably didn't. I forgot. So forgive me.
we're glad to see you here. I think we're going to go 6 o'clock from here on out. But we got Mark for 20 minutes, so I'm going to make it fast. Let's go to old business 6.1 community plan. Hand it off to Ren.
There we are. Okay, yeah, run through here quickly. The community plan update. I've been talking to the planners, and it looks like it'll be at best early summer, it maybe the fall before they get a draft plan put together for us to start to talk about. They don't seem to be under any time pressures to get this done, which upsets me, but I won't go into all that. Anyway, just stay tuned on the community plan. There's a number of issues, as I mentioned, Universal and their plans, and they are certainly not stopping or slowing down on what they're doing up there on the hill. So all of that feeds into our planning thinking. State legislation, there's some items that are popping up. We'll work with the GAC committee. I think by next month, we'll be able to see what kinds of state legislation is coming together and, how that's going to affect us. So we'll report on that. Also, city council has some things that are cooking that we'll need to get in on. So all of that for next month. The clock update.
Can you, Ren, excuse me, can you give us a hint, a preview? You say there are items popping up, state legislation and city council, which is probably an understatement, but are you referring to anything in particular?
No, I don't think there's any item that's say imminent.
Okay,
We have some time to get in front of these things and react to our councilmen and our state legislators. But as you know, we need to keep an eye on these things. Just as an aside, one of the things that, has shown up is that all of our concern about all these lot splits and suddenly having the population of R1 areas double because everybody's split their lot into ADUs. That evidently is not a big seller, at least at this point, across the state. And here locally in Los Angeles area, there aren't a lot of lot splits going on. I have the number here. I think there's been 114 applications. I think, as I remember, the total number of units is like 210 units. So it's not something that a whole, thousands of people have rushed into the city hall to split their lots so they can build a second unit. It may build, it may become, as people demonstrate how they do it, why it may start to become more of a problem. But at least at this point, we're not being overwhelmed by people who are trying to split their properties and build a second house.
Ren, I don't doubt that figure, but what's your source, and what's your source for that number in Los Angeles, and what's your source for the statewide low number of lot splits?
I'll have to go back. I heard it on our neighborhood council planning group on Saturday. So I'll have to go back and look at my notes and see.
Are you talking about Plan Check
Yes.
LA?
Plan Check LA, right?
That's where you heard it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you want to just go on there directly and take a look and see what they're.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, state legislation, the clock. Ryan will update us at Wednesday's meeting, so I'll just leave that to him. It's coming. West Toluca Lake monument sign. Jonathan, you want to update us on status on that?
Sure. I'll start this subject by complimenting Ren for having said something again that I think is very intelligent. And that was at the Government Affairs Committee meeting. Ren.
Hello? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I've lost you.
Okay. What I was saying is Ren had said something very intelligent, I believe, at the Government Affairs Committee meeting, having to do, we weren't talking about the sign per se, but it did come up. And Ren's comment that I think was very clairvoyant is, in order for us to do something with beautification partners, he said it in different words, but we can't be at war with beautification partners and at the same time be asking for favors. That's what Ren was saying at the Government Affairs Committee meeting, and that makes excellent sense to me. There are issues that need to be resolved. Without getting into them, I just want to say that I think it's completely appropriate for us to suspend a conversation on this monument sign. As you know, I presented the concept at the general meeting, so everyone's aware of it. People can have their opinions on it. The board members can have their opinions on it. But I think for the purpose of discussing it any further, Ren's comment is the bottom line, is we can't be at war with an organization that we're asking for favors from. That's just common sense to me. And I think it's something we have to thank Ren for having put it into clear English that we can all understand. We have to work together, but right now there are issues that need to be addressed. And until the issues are addressed, there's nothing to talk about. So we can visit it again once some other issues are addressed. If anyone has any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. But apart from that, I think that that's a very, very smart position that Ren addressed. We have to be working together in order to move a project of this sort forward. Thanks. Anybody?
I don't see any.
Okay, I
hand-
just I guess we can take it off of our agenda for the moment. There are other ways to move this project forward besides the beautification partners. You know, they have funding and so forth that would work for this, but they're not the only way to get this done. So there could be other approaches or other organizations, other ways to get this funded. But we'll put it on the back burner and we can discuss it further.
I think so. And again, I asked Ren, I said, Ren, do you see the leadership required to do certain things in our neighborhood council? I agreed with Ren's answer. The answer was no. For certain types of projects, we have to have outside help, not only because of the longevity of a board, that the board only serves for 2 years at a time, but also there's the commitment level. Ren was right, and I appreciate the fact that he said it in clear terms. Thanks.
Fred, you want to take on the Auckland?
Okay, very good. And thank you guys. The Auckland Parking District. So we spoke, Ren and I had a very nice conversation with Louise, who is the homeowner requesting some help. And we gave her our advice of different options that she could have besides getting a permit, which were overnight parking, 2-hour restrictions. Her house is right on the corner of an alleyway next to Magnolia. And there are quite a few cars on that side of Strom in front of her place, but I've been there a couple of times, not too much a problem for the rest of the block. So we reminded her that she needs 6 blocks radius. I think that was the correct number of signatures for approvals. And basically she's, you know, gonna go do the footwork to see if she can get support for what she wants to do. And that's about it. We, you know, again, nice talk with her. We understand her concerns. Beyond that, I think the ball's really in her court. And we left it at that to talk again with an update soon. So
Yeah, I think we'll take this off of the agenda, this specific request, but you know, parking is going to be a big issue going forward, I think, in our community, and we need to address it in the community plan, and we need to address it in some other ways. So it'll keep showing up on our agenda, maybe not this specific item, but you know, we're going to keep parking as something we're watching out for. And again, harking back to Universal update, you know, they're busy up there creating more traffic and more whatever. And I think if we can keep their employees from parking in our neighborhoods and taking the bus or whatever to the last the last mile, I think we'll be in better shape.
well, on that note too, Ren, I don't know if this is worth it to talk about in the community plan or not, but you know, that metro parking lots where the subway is, I know that there's plans to build major developments on that property. And so when that happens, oh boy, is that going to change things? And to be ahead of that with our needs and plans, I think is something that we should think about. So I wanted to add that. Tess, go ahead.
Yeah, so you know, at the risk of being called a heretic, what would it take to undo a street diet on Vineland Avenue?
Undo
where
what?
What would it take to reverse the street diet on Vineland Avenue, which has narrowed Vineland Avenue from 6 lanes to 4? What
I
would that
agree with you.
take?
I think you're right. I think that was a silly thing to make that bike lane and remove a lane of traffic for that.
I never see cyclists ever,
It's dumb.
ever.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Ren, how do we reverse that?
It's going to take a lot of pushing on the in terms of the council office and stuff. They spent a lot of money, obviously, in setting that all up. There were some of us early on who said it didn't make much sense because of the connectivity of both ends actually of the bike lane, but primarily down on the south end. It's sort of where do the bikers go from there to get over the hill? It wasn't well thought out, and I don't think, and we fought it at the time, and this was years ago. And but the bikers prevailed, and it got done, and they spent a lot of money doing it. And I think if we come back now and say, let's spend a lot more money to undo it, it's going to be a headache. It'll take years. If you feel strongly enough about it, well, you can start taking it on, and I'm sure you'll get support because even at the time they approved it, there was a fair amount of resistance on the part of the neighborhood. So you could find support, I'm sure, over there in your area to support the notion of reversing it out and turning it back to 3 lanes each way.
Okay, I was just wondering because it's just such a huge inconvenience. Anyway, all right. Well, I'll take the temperature over here, and I know I'm not alone, but I haven't really taken a poll. So why don't we move along? Thank you for that.
Okay.
That's up to you, Tess. Update on the kiosk CIS.
To me. Okay, the kiosk CIS. Well, the council file has been updated since our last meeting with tons of opposition. So in fact, as I was scrolling through it, I didn't see any support. Now, I haven't looked at every single community impact statement or public comment, but that is the current state of affairs, and that is my report.
Okay, very good. Cross that one off the list. Now, new business. We already did 7.1.
Actually, just a second. I think we want to talk to the council office and maybe have them, maybe send them a little email to ask that they report on that at our regular GTLNC meeting.
Rand, I see Tiffany here on the line. Tiffany's on here. Let me allow her to talk.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay, Tiffany, go ahead. You can speak.
Yes, hi. And this is for the kiosk CIS?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with the with what's going on with that. Do you mind filling me in, and I can relay it to Shannon? I'm here since Ren brought up the Navajo Street wall, and I reached out to Building and Safety, which we could talk about that later. But I just wanted to see if maybe I can relay that information to Shannon. What's going on with the kiosk?
Well,
CIS?
the CIS, we filed a CIS, I believe it was last month, on the Ike, the kiosks that are being proposed throughout the city. And we voted it down. And I've been looking at the council file on this. And by the way, maybe I should have flagged this, Fred, to be sure to include the council file when this is agendized on the meeting minutes or wherever else. And these huge sort of interactive kiosks that are digital. You're
Uh-huh.
not familiar with that, Tiffany?
Are they the ones for like advertising?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me give you the council file. Hold on here.
Sure, that'll be helpful.
The council file is 221154. The interactive kiosk program. All right. We opposed
Got
it because most of the kiosks will be digital displays that affect safety. It's a significant expansion of digital signage advertising that we feel would increase urban blight. There are no controls over data collection by the kiosk companies, which is a huge concern. They need full community and environmental review. There's a problem with right of way, putting them on sidewalks because it takes away public access to sidewalks, may trigger Americans with Disabilities Act issues, etc. I can send you the full enchilada, but those are some of the top concerns.
Sure. So did you want us to relay something specific, or I can let Shannon know.
We filed the community impact statement, so presumably it has reached
I do see that on the council file. Yes,
yeah.
I do see that on there.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything more we can and should do, but we can, we'll keep up to date on it and maybe file another community impact statement if conditions change.
Sure. What I'll do is I can flag this for Shannon, and if this is going to be agendized anytime soon, I can have her notify you. So in case anyone would like to call in from the neighborhood council, and of course we'll notify the council member of your stance.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
All right, thank you very much. I saw Bob had his hand up, but then it came down. So
one last item on that. Colby, did you end up sending whenever we file a CIS, because of the failure of the CIS neighborhood council portal system, I've encouraged Colby to email our CISs directly to city council and or council member Krikorian or whomever they are directed. I believe you sent that Ike kiosk one directly to council member Krikorian and city council. Did you not, Colby?
I did. Actually, you and I were on the phone when I did that.
Okay, very good. While you were skateboarding or something. Yes. Okay.
No, I was sitting right here. Actually, I was
Okay.
I had a little skateboard on my finger. I was like those miniature skateboards.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, so let's go on to continue with Tiffany, and we're on the Navajo Street wall now, 7.2.
Fred.
Yes,
Fred
Mark.
and hi. Hey, Fred, and to my esteemed colleagues. I've got a skedaddle, but I just wanted to say thank you for another informative meeting and look forward to catching up with all of you next month.
Very good, Mark. Thanks so much for joining
Good night,
us.
Mark.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Mark. Okay, Ren, do you want
Okay, do we have Solomon on? Is he's the spokesperson for the wall?
I do not see anyone else here in the attendees except Tiffany.
Okay, we had invited someone to speak on this, and he at the time I talked to him, he seemed very open to being in our meeting, but he may have backed off. Why don't we ask Tiffany to summarize, if she would, the status of this project, because I think it's in the hands of building and safety at this point. And it's much more problematic than I initially thought. So I think it's something that we'll, we want to schedule more formally on our calendar here and really get the background. Tiffany, can you give us a rundown on this?
Sure. So I reached out to LADBS building inspector Brian Meyer, who's assigned to the case, because I did see that there was general code enforcement filed for the property for the overheight fence and electrical work done without permits. And he has issued orders to comply. There's two separate orders to comply that were issued. That one that was submitted in January, and then one that was submitted late, like around or like earlier this week, I believe. And so the difference is that he had two different orders to comply date, but what he's doing is waiting upon the decision from the planning department based off of if they get approved for the conditional use for that, the variance for having the fence. And so he isn't going to formally have them take down the fence unless they get denied by the planning department. If they get approved, then they need to get the proper permitting and go through the department's requirements. So that's kind of where they're at right now. It hasn't been scheduled by the planning department to my knowledge as of yet. I did reach out to the planner. I think they're still working on gathering all of the information, getting the documents, just because there wasn't any documents uploaded into the case file that I saw. So I can, follow up with Ren if you all want to keep track on that one. But
What
I
is
do
the
think,
address of the property, Tiffany?
if I'm not mistaken, let me double check. I think I have it. Let me make sure this is the correct one. I think it's 4269 Navajo Street.
Okay.
And so they
Yeah.
built an overheight fence. So they have applied with the planning department to get the approvals for it. Obviously, if they have a public hearing, anyone can attend to that. But I did speak to the inspector, so they are just waiting right now on when the planning department agendizes the item and then what their determination is.
Yeah, I was, as I got more familiar with what this is, I became much more concerned because and this is a case where they just, literally went ahead and built what they wanted to build without any kind of permits or approvals. And, we asked people to come in and make a presentation after they put in gone through the process and requested their permit and all of that. We then asked them to present, and in some cases, we've asked people to lower their fences or put in planting, or, we asked them to do things and they agree. In this particular case, the property owner just went ahead and did what he wanted. And it sort of flies in the face. Very bluntly, if this goes through without being challenged in any kind of serious way, we might as well give up on trying to keep people from building walls and fences around everybody's property. There are a number of us who feel like Toluca Lake really, there are exceptions. And you've heard me, defend a couple of them where they built a wall, which I thought was reasonable. But in a lot of cases, I think we should be leaning against that, because I think it leaves the impression that our community is somehow dangerous or not pretty to look at. It's like I would like to go back, and maybe I'm being naive and whatever, because I'd like to see us go back to a community where, we had beautiful lawns and leaves and all of that, and we kind of shared our environment rather than walling in our grass and our trees. So anyhow, I in this particular case, I think we need to, we really need to find out what this person was thinking and why they didn't think they needed to even get a permit. Tesh, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. What is the requirement, the code for the fence height, and how much over the limit is the fence or the wall?
Well, you can build up to, I think it's 42 inches at the property line. If you're going to go higher than that, then you need a conditional use permit. You have to go back, I think it's 15 feet before you can go up 6 feet in front of your house.
And what is the height of this rogue wall?
It's, well, it's at least 6 feet right at the, right at the sidewalk. So it's, the garage is right there at the sidewalk, and then the fence just goes off from that.
So in other words, there's not a
Uh-huh.
setback, which code requires, but how much
Yeah.
how much higher is it than 42 inches?
Oh,
To my understanding, it looks like it's 6-foot pillars according to the LADBS code violation information.
Okay, got it.
yeah. And now in the property owner's defense, I mean, it is a sloping wall, I mean, a sloping lot. So he doesn't have a lot of room in back, and the way that the lot is set up, and the garage is right on the line there with the sidewalk. And several of the properties along Navajo, on that side of Navajo, are set up that way. But that goes back a long time. But anyway, it's just something we ought to look at and decide what kind of policy, if we can set up some kind of general guidelines and policy for the community, I think it would really help. And I think if we lean against these walls being sort of by right, I think that's good for the community. At least make people defend themselves a bit and listen to the other side of what we're arguing here. It may also give the architects and designers a little bit of leverage with their clients to suggest softer kinds of approaches, maybe some setbacks or some planting in front, or some lower height than 6 feet or 7 feet tall. So we may be, if we can set up some guidelines, we may arm the designers of these walls and fences to work with their clients to do something more moderate and ideally something more attractive for the community. Anyway,
We have Jonathan next, and then Bob.
Thanks. Is this the same wall that we heard about a year ago, where the group of residents called into the neighborhood council, having not first filed a complaint with the building and safety department? Is this that same wall? Is this the same group is this it, or is this something else?
I don't know if it's been a year ago.
Well, it was a night that Ryan Altoon also spoke in a group of neighbors. It's about a year, give or take. Or is this a different situation?
That's maybe the same situation. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he may just have gone ahead and built the wall without responding to any of the comments.
Thanks.
Okay,
and-
Bob, go ahead.
Excuse me. Yeah, my question is a little bit along Jonathan's. This is the first I'm hearing of this, or if it was years ago, then I forgot. And so don't we have any kind of a copy of the application, a copy of the plans? And it's hard to join in this conversation when I really know so little about it. You can talk in general, you're right, 42 inch. You don't require a setback though, and my recollection is you don't require a setback. You can build that 42 inch right at the property line. Also, from a little of your comments, he seems to have built this wall on public property. Do you think he did that? In which case would be a DOT problem. So
Yeah, I don't. I guess I need to go and look at the application at this point and see what the all the citations are and so forth. I didn't actually dig down into the files to look at all this. My understanding, and just looking at the picture of it, you can see it, by the way. I think on you do the maps thing and drive by, and you can actually see the fence now, and it's much higher than 42 inches. But I don't know if he's into the sidewalk area or other.
Okay, well, that's a point. And certainly it's higher than 42 inches. 42 inches, you wouldn't need a permit. So it's going to be above 42 inches. Typically,
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, it's
So
like
he,
6 feet.
yeah, he clearly needed a permit because the city has charged him with a violation. So he clearly, at least he went ahead and built this without any kind of permit. He also did electrical work without a permit, which is a different set of problems, but that's part of the overall citation for this.
I'm surprised the contractors went along with all of that. They very, very rarely will they go ahead without a permit, because they're on the line now too, as a matter of fact, if
Yeah.
they did something like that. But the fence, if it's 6 feet, he needs a permit. He didn't do that. Legally, they can tell him to take it down, but they won't do it, but so on.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I'd like to see something, because you could issue a CIS. I don't think it'd do any good, but you could do it against the city planning commissioner, because they'll have to vote on this at one point, and you can make your voice heard by either being at the meeting or submitting a CIS.
Yeah.
To the planning commission meeting.
Well, I move that we formulate a CIS. That's a good idea, Robert, and just set a standard. And we can do that at a special meeting, or I think it would be appropriate to do it tonight since it's on the agenda. Shall we do that?
So you want to create language for a CIS for this?
You asking me to draft something?
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd rather draft it and then submit it out. I don't think we're in a big hurry to.
Okay.
The guys built it, and it's, in a sense, the damage is done that way. If the city comes back and requires them to tear it down, then that's going to take a while. So I'd like us to research this a little more carefully and come up with a CIS that kind of cites chapter and verse.
I second that. Go for it,
Okay.
Ren.
Okay.
You're nominated.
Talk myself into an assignment here. Okay.
And just one last note, if Tiffany is still there, you had a city planning application number for this particular project, Tiff?
I do have a case number. There is a planner
Okay.
assigned to the case, but there is no hearing date or location or documents that have been updated just yet. But the case number is Z like zebra, A like apple, -2023 -83 -F like Frank.